welcome back to the Facedown YGO podcast. If you're a returning listener, I just want to say thank you for your continued support. But if you're new, hello and welcome to the Facedown YGO podcast. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I do want to quickly put a disclaimer out there for this episode. I did plan to interview Vlad on a particular date. However, the night before I did get extremely drunk and I was very, very hungover the following day after playing a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament all day. So the structure of this may seem a little bit off, and I did forget to ask Vlad to do some shout outs at the end. That is totally my bad. But even with those flaws, I know you're all going to love this episode as much as I loved it myself. I was so nervous interviewing someone that I've not really spoken to in the past before, but Vlad was so accommodating and he was so easy to talk to, man. I learned so much from this, and I really hope you all guys do too. I do want to quickly go back and say huge thank you to Ben for being my first guest. It was really nice to have a close friend of mine on as my first guest. It was brilliant, and now it's allowing me to go forward and interview new people, and it's all a whole new experience for me, and I am here for it. I also want to say a quick thanks to everyone that's been sending me their feedback. It has been really, really great listening to what you've all enjoyed about this podcast so far. And what's been equally as beneficial is hearing what you didn't like about it. Because, like I said, I'm very new to this. So hearing feedback of any kind is going to shape this podcast. And each episode is just going to keep getting better and better and better. And that gets me excited, and I really hope it gets you guys just as excited as I am. But with all that said, this is what you've all been waiting for. This is episode 2 of the Facedown Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, and on today's episode, I bring to you Vladis Baranovskis. We talk about Vlad's history in the game. We talk about what it takes for rogue decks to do well at huge events, because Vlad has topped so many events with decks that people weren't even considering to do well at these events. And we also get into the nitty-gritty of deck building, because Vlad was one of those people that helped bring Loonlight to the TCG. He helped create the deck that Raphael Nevin piloted to a YCS win. Having a mind like that in this game and bringing that onto the podcast has got me hyped. But that's enough of me rambling on for now. Now it is time to get this show on the road. So, I bring to you Vladis Baranovskis. Welcome to the Facedown Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, Vlad. If you just do me a favour and just introduce yourself to those who might not know who you are.
Hey, I'm Vlad, also known as Vladis Baranovskis, also known as Hypnocorn, also known as Farfa and Friends, also known as the guy who edits for Farfa. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for I want to say 10, almost 10-ish years competitively, or competitively quotation marks. I'm known, I suppose, for playing not the most meta strategies, I suppose, but I'm also known from other places such as Twitch, where I stream, YouTube, where I make a video once every 4 years, and where else? I'm trying to think. I think that's really it. Yeah, that's about it.
Basically, the man of many.
A jack of all trades, but the master of none. Basically,
literally, when you say you're making episodes once every 4 years, it reminds me when you come on Twitch sometimes and you say finally streaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To use that, it's so funny, man. So, you've been playing the game for well over 10 years, like you said, in terms of competitiveness, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Do you can you remember the first deck you actually played?
So I'm not entirely sure I think the first deck I ever entered out of locals was Lightsworn. And this would have been in I want to say end of 2012, maybe the middle of 2012. I'm not entirely sure. And that was the first time I actually entered, but I was going to the locals for quite a while before then.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't able to go to the tournaments on the Sundays because at the time I was still playing Magic the Gathering kind of casually with my friends.
All right.
And I would be going to the locals, and the locals had Yu-Gi-Oh players, but I'd only be playing casually with random people at the locals.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 23.
23. Oh, so you've been playing the game like you're only a year younger than me, to be fair. So you've been playing the game since like a very young age.
I've been playing since I was like a baby. Yeah, like my first experience with Yu-Gi-Oh was when I was like one of the first times when I like first moved to Ireland. I had like I'm not sure if I think it was like the first Yu-Gi starter deck. I'm not sure actually. I think I actually started with the Joey starter deck. And then my second starter deck ever was the Yugi Reloaded one. I think maybe it was a Kaiba one. I'm not entirely sure. But there's like the second wave of the starter decks. I think it's like Evolution or something. I'm not entirely sure what the name of the structure decks were. But there's like a second Yugi and Kaiba structure, like basically after the first ones. And those was like I remember those were one like the first memories I had. Because I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh in a field with like one of my friends.
Yeah.
When we were like 5 or 6 or something, and then like a Swords of Being Light of Mine or something like flew into like the field and I had to like run after it or something. Maybe it was a Karibo. It was something like that. I remember I was absolutely gutted because we couldn't find it in the end.
I remember something quite similar for
I was
myself.
absolutely
actually.
pissed, but yeah.
Playing like when you're really young and you knock on like your mate's door, you ask them to come out and stuff, and you're literally playing Yu-Gi-Oh in their back garden. And you've got no mat or anything, and then the wind picks up.
Yeah.
I just vaguely remember like losing my god cards, and as a child, you're like, no, that's like £1 million in your mind.
Yeah.
It's so
basically
cool. Like you can recall such memories because I think a lot of people got into the game when they were younger, and then like they kind of like either completely stopped playing or stopped playing for like an extended period of time. Did you ever like take a break or anything?
I haven't like taken an actual break from Yu-Gi-Oh since I like started playing again back in 2012. I've legit just been playing like consistently since then. I suppose you can kind of say I kind of took a break from the game in like 2020. But that's just because I was like streaming more. Like I was still like playing Yu-Gi-Oh kinda, but I was more like talking about the game.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that I actually like took a break or anything from the game. So I could say I've probably just played consistently since 2012. I can't remember a time where I've like given up on the game or anything.
I think 2020 was probably like one of the years that a lot of people took like a break in, obviously given the pandemic and stuff. Because I know a lot of people don't really like remote dueling and stuff. Did you, when remote dueling first came about, what was your opinion on it? Because I was one of those people that painted it with a brush like it was terrible. But then when I actually played in them, I found them quite enjoyable, to be fair.
I among other people, I was just kind of pissed that we didn't have like a simulator to begin with.
Yeah.
And it just really outlined the problems that like we had to put up with remote duels to like play the game. But honestly, like it's they couldn't do anything about it. They used to have we used to have a simulator for Yu-Gi-Oh, and then it kind of just died. I think that was just due to the time frame when it was released. So it was kind of
what was
kind
that
of doomed
like?
to fail. Yu-Gi-Oh Online. It was like a really old one. I think it started in the 5Ds era and kind of died. I think it died like I want to say September 2012 is when the servers shut down. Actually, maybe it was 2013. I'm not entirely sure, but there was like a community for it for sure. You can still like find some YouTube videos of it online from I think I want to say like Dual Logs, I think is the name of the channel, where they just had like a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh online like tournaments and stuff. Not to be confused with the Dual Logs. That's a completely different channel. There's like Dual Logs and then there's the Dual Logs. The Dual Logs is the channel that makes like the top 10 videos for Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever.
I know the Dual Logs. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his actually. Not gonna lie, it's really cool stuff. But that's I feel like I missed so much from like Yu-Gi-Oh because I started playing when I was 19. I'm 24 now. So like you talking about stuff like 2012. I just wish I managed to.
There's a huge like Yu-Gi-Oh iceberg to unpack. But back to the original question though. I didn't hate remote duels. I wasn't like the biggest fan, but like I understood like it's all they can do.
Yeah.
It's literally all they can do.
I think a lot of people as well who haven't actually played in them. I just feel like it's easier to sit on the computer and go, oh, it's just full of cheating anyways. But it's, I don't think it's been that bad. I think it's gotten worse towards the end of the lifespan, given like in the last 2 or 3 events. But at the beginning, I felt like it was almost non-existent in some ways. So I remember you saying as well that you, when you were getting into Yu-Gi-Oh, that you briefly played Magic. Did you try any other like TCGs?
I've played I've played like almost every card game under the sun at this point, to be honest. I've played Pokemon, I've played Magic, I've played the Digimon. Like I still kind of play the Digimon card game. I've played Hearthstone for a little bit. Um, I played. I tried Eternal and Shadowverse. I didn't really get into those too much. Same thing with like Legends of Runeterra, although I did really like that one, but I just wasn't bothered to spend money on it or like grind, to be honest. I've tried a lot of the card games. I'm a big fan of Pokemon and Magic, though.
Did you play them competitively?
I've played Pokemon. I've played Pokemon and Magic competitively.
Huh. What do you think is the key ingredient in like a TCG that'll make you stick at it? Like with like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example. Like,
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I think it's for me is like the gameplay. Like it has to just be, I don't know. It has to be something that I find like particularly fun. I like solving like a puzzle, I suppose.
mm-hmm.
And having like good mechanics in the game, I like as well. Like in Pokemon, it's nice because there's like just a lot of drawing and just like a lot of like just pure serotonin just from like drawing stuff. But there's also like complexity to the game where like you have to kind of count how many cards your opponent has left and trying to play around certain cards that your opponents might have on their turn. Maybe even like what's the word? Making it so they denying them of like a particular resource or whatever. Things like that, and it's like also how the order in which you do things is kind of important. You have to kind of like think through your plays, but like not think too long. And then with Magic, it's like a lot more of like the resource type stuff. It's a bit of a slower game, a lot of back and forth, a lot of like decision trees, and also it kind of has like some elements of Yu-Gi-Oh where you do have it can be fast at times depending on what kind of deck you're playing.
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't know, I think like for me the part I like about card games is like deck building and also just like the way the game feels when you play it, I suppose.
Do you think learning other card games and stuff has given you like an edge over people who haven't necessarily played other card games? Like for example, I've only ever really played Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think that's because of like I played it as a kid and then I stopped playing it, and then when I was like 18 or something, it was like a nostalgia trip for me. And then when I started, but then I was like, oh, I actually kind of want to get good at this game. But I completely disregarded all the other TCGs. So yourself playing the other ones, do you think that gives you like, do you can take things from Pokemon, from Magic, and then improve yourself in Yu-Gi-Oh with that?
I don't know, because I no-lifed Yu-Gi-Oh before trying to get good at the other games. But the fact that I did, like, I don't know, a lot of the card game skills, I suppose, can like transfer over, but it's more of how it's not really a skill, but it's how your brain works, I want to say, almost, because you kind of think of it differently when you know how to like, oh, okay, I should be when you're actively thinking, oh, I should be playing around X and Y. It can make it so that when you go to other card games, you can be like, oh, okay, maybe I should be thinking about, okay, what if X and Y happens? But like the problem is that since that card pools obviously are completely different between every card game, you're always kind of starting from square one whenever you start a new card game, because you have to learn like what the meta is, like you have to learn what cards do, what cards to play around, etc. So you still have to learn, and that's not something you can learn from like something you've played in Yu-Gi-Oh, but some skills that can transfer over is like knowing how to resource manage and like being able to like train your brain, being like, okay, I should do things in this order or whatever. Some of the skills can transfer over for sure.
I ask this because a lot of I've seen some other players, like mostly Americans and stuff, who are like really into poker, and they said it like helped their like the transferable skills from that game has helped them in Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff.
Like it's a lot of the like tells and stuff, like bluffing and stuff. Yeah, like that's like stuff that's kind of outside of the card game rather than
of course,
actually in the card game. Yeah.
So do you recall your first ever, like, this might become quite far back, but do you remember your first locals?
Yes. So I remember my first locals and my first regional and my first YCS. And honestly, I remember like a lot of things, but my first locals, I specifically remember I entered with Lightsworn, and I got Wind Up Hand Loop round 1. I got then Gravekeeper's Royal Tributed, or what's the card? Royal Tribute? Where you discard yeah. So my opponent goes like summon a monster or whatever, activate Necro Valley, set 3, activate the Royal Tribute. My hand's like just 5 like big idiots. Like I've got like Luminas, like some JDs, and some Light Ray monsters because I was playing those. And that happened 2 games in a row, which was pretty sweet. It was like game 2, I like set a Raikou and pass or something. I just get like Royal Tributed again.
Oh my word. That reminds
just like
me
sets a spy or something.
That reminds me of I think it was about 2 years ago now at locals in Liverpool. My mate Patrick was playing against a guy that had not played the game in I think 8 years or something, and Pat was playing Rongo Bongo, and this guy just rocked up with like Shadows, but like 2014 version of Shadows. And he's got Rongoed.
Oh god!
So it literally sounds like a very similar experience that you had with the wind-ups and stuff.
Yeah. I did not start at a very good time.
Oh goodness, no. What was your first like regional experience?
So I think I'm not entirely sure what deck I entered with. I'm almost certain I entered with like Heraldic Beasts, which would have been in like 2013. It's just like old archetype from Cosmo Blazer.
Okay.
And for a bit of context, regionals in Ireland were kind of held in like this college campus, and I had to like get my friend's dad to drive me and my friend to the regional so I could go, because it was like out of the way, because it's not, I'd have to take like 2 buses to get there, which is like absolute effort, especially when I was like really young, and my mom just did not let me go on a public transport on my own. That's why, like, a lot of my early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't really remember, because a lot of it was, like, I can remember, like, bits and pieces, but, like, a lot of the times before I started going to locals were, like, just hard to remember, just because a lot of them I just had to be with, like, my mom with, or with, like, a friend or whatever who just, like, take me, and my mom wouldn't know. But, for my first regional, I entered with Heraldic Beast, and I remember I lost to Gusto round 1. I'm not sure if it was Heraldic Beast or whatever, but it was. I remember specifically my first ever loss at a regional was to Gusto, because I got like freeze OTK'd like 2 games in a row, and they probably cheated, and I probably didn't even notice, and they probably didn't even notice, to be honest, because I just did not know what was happening.
It's always the worst when you're looking at cards and like you're like, oh yeah, okay, that sure, you can tell me it does that, whatever.
And then I don't remember anything else from the regional. I think I played against like a Chronomaly deck or something. I probably lost to that as well. I think I missed a round or something as well. I specifically remember, though, for my entry packs, it pulled an ulti Tiger King that paid for like entry, and I was like, sick.
That is sick, to be fair.
I just had just free money. I was like, oh, this is epic. I don't really care about how this day goes. I basically just got to steal like €20 from my mom.
Nice. I think one of my first locals experiences is quite similar as well. I think it was in 2016. I was playing against like, I think what was my first deck? I played Magic Spectres with a Form Pal engine and stuff. And I just got battered by Cubics. I hadn't got a clue what the cards were doing. I just got like OTK'd out of nowhere. So for someone that's been playing the game for so long, when did you transition from casual to competitive play? And like, what was the spark that ignited it?
So I'm not like, there's like, I have a lot of different answers I can use for this, because my mindset didn't really change until like quite recently, I want to say. Well, not maybe very recently. I mean, like in the last like 3 years or something, probably. My first the first kind of taste I got, I guess, for like, I don't know, a success, I guess, was like my first regional top was in 2014, and that was cool. I got like 4th with like gear again. I beat like a lot of the good players in Ireland. I was feeling gassed up. I was feeling pretty good, but I wasn't really good at the game yet. I wasn't really taking it seriously still. And then I taught my first YCS, which was London in 2014 with Satellar Knight, and I still didn't really take the the game seriously back then either. I got so lucky at that event. It was actually insane. I remember specifically I beat Peter Gross like the last round of the YCS. For those that don't know, he's like one of the older Yu-Gi-Oh players, doesn't play anymore. And he's like a 3-time YCS champion, basically.
Wow!
And he was like the best, European player at the time. And his Shadal deck was like bad. Like it he just got bullied. I did do the dirty with the normal summon the neb, flip and an emptiness, and then just like handshake all around.
So
It was pretty skillful, I will say.
Yeah, it sounds like you outskilled him, to be fair. So I don't think he was.
Yeah.
I don't think he was that upset, right?
Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure what I would say. Like when I started going from casual to competitive, I certainly did take the game a bit more seriously. Around like I want to say the end of 2013, which is kind of when I started playing more competitive decks. Even like the middle of 2013 ish, I'd want to say is when I started taking the game a bit more seriously. But like I have to like put an asterisk there because I kind of just it was more like me taking local seriously. But it was only because I had like friends who just like lent me decks because I didn't really have cards at the time, and 2013 is a very expensive year for Yu-Gi-Oh. Among like Fire Fist, Mermail, and like obviously Dragon Ruler, which is the big one at the time.
Yeah, it was a very expensive time. You had like common Six Senses were money as well, weren't there?
Yeah, Six Senses, common emptinesses were a lot as well. Things like that. So it wasn't the most expensive time to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and as someone with no money, it was kind of hard to play the game. But having like friends that just like lent me cards all the time was pretty sweet. But I don't know. I think I'd say I transitioned like maybe end of 2013 is when I kind of started taking the game a bit more seriously.
I think it's different as well when you've been playing the game from a young age because I feel that obviously as you grow older, you go through like you experience more outside of the game. It changes you the way your thought process as well. Especially going from like a 13-year-old. Sure, you might win a few games and feel great, but you won't be able to like see it in the bigger like picture as you would like as a 19, 21-year-old or something. So it makes a lot of sense, to be fair. So you talked briefly just then about your first YCS top. Can you list your premier tops?
Okay. First top was YCS London 2014 with Satellar Knight with a 9-2 record, I want to say. No, maybe it was 8-2. I think it was only 10 rounds for the YCS. And then my second top wasn't until 3 years after, which is YCS London again. In 2017 with Spiral going 9-2 in Swiss. With the worst Spiral list ever, by the way. Then I topped the 2018 European Championships with Trickstar Sky Striker specifically. Went 9-2 in Swiss, probably. Yeah, 9-2 in Swiss. Then later that year, topped YCS London 2018 with Gem Knight FTK. Then I topped 32 YCS Milan directly after the London with Gem Knight FTK again. 9-2 in Swiss both times. Probably actually don't remember that. It probably is 9-2. I only ever remember topping with 9-2 ever. And then after that was topping the European Championships in 2019 with Infernoid top 64 rather. Then I topped. I think my last top then is YCS Milan top 16 with Pure Endymion.
That is quite a lot, to be fair, as well. And again, you're already 23, so like it's just crazy. Do you know when you're saying that you got 9-2 records a lot? Have you like experienced before? Well, you will have, but go through like the day and stuff. When you lose a game, you get quite tilted and stuff. How do you compose yourself? Like
no, so my thing is, I don't think I've ever been tilted when I've lost a match at Yu-Gi-Oh, because I realized like even like. I learned it from like locals, I want to say almost, where like if you like lose a match, you shouldn't like whenever you go into a new match, you should just always forget the previous match.
Yeah.
Because the only thing it can ever do is just is just detriment to you, So like I don't know. I think like thinking about like the past is like not the greatest way to go through things like that. It's just always just like just live in the present rather than the past or the future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
No point about worrying about other things.
That's true. I feel like after a game, it's sometimes good just to like quickly go back and see if you could have changed anything different, and then after that, you go, oh, I could have done that differently, or I couldn't have done that differently. Then you kind of have to move on realistically. Otherwise, you're just gonna get in your own head and stuff.
I usually only think about I think about my plays whether or not I lost or won the match, because you can there's always something you could have done better.
100%.
And I think that's like a lot of people don't understand this, Like even when you win a game of Yu-Gi-Oh, there's still like things you could have done better, and you'd have like avoided losing to like a specific card, you know. Or like, you know, you could have played around like more things if you did like a different route or whatever. So I always try to think about those things to like, you know, try get myself better or like even more accustomed to a deck. Because when learning a deck, you need to like being able to like play as optimally as possible is just like nice, you know.
I think a lot of people don't take into consideration as well when you obviously you win. People think, "Oh, I won. It doesn't matter." But
yeah, exactly. Like it's such a bad mentality. Yeah.
People also don't understand though that certain decks can just like carry you if you get me. Like
for sure. Yeah.
For example, I was playing Tri Brigade recently, and I feel like I don't really like the deck as much because I felt like it wasn't very rewarding. I felt like I was making incorrect plays in some circumstances, but I was just winning because Revolt's an insane card.
Yeah.
Like Revolt Strikers nuts.
Yeah. Just Revolt, to be honest. Like, you don't need anything else. Like, Revolt's just like a plus +1,000,000 on its own.
It's just ridiculous, man. With your tops and stuff, what was your favorite deck? Like, what was your favorite? Like, not your favorite deck, sorry. What was your favorite, like... I guess what was your best tournament experience, and then what was, like, the one you're most proud of, I guess?
What was my favorite top? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'd probably say... I really liked the Infernoid one, because I legitimately felt that I was ahead of everyone else in the room, but also I was playing a sweet deck. Because I like playing the I don't know, the more rogue stuff, and it just clicked for me. Like playing Infernoid just like fixed. It was like a puzzle piece and like the format, in my opinion, where I was like, okay, well this deck can just beat every deck consistently. And the only matchup which is like not favored is Sky Striker, which of course I get.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
That's the only matchup that's actually just like 50-50, and even then it's still like arguably favored if you don't brick, which obviously happened twice in top 64. I drew a triple or double Dynamiscus or something in a game 1 or something, and then the game 2 was just like Sagetti and like the other pieces of the gang, and I was like, oh great, I cut all these Infernoids and I still draw them. It's absolutely epic.
What do you think pushed Infernoid?
I don't know.
What do you think pushed Infernoid above the other decks then, in terms of rogueness and that like format?
So every deck in that format had like one specific thing in common, which is they're all graveyard reliant.
Yes.
You had Salamangre, which absolutely just died to DD Crow. You had Orcus, which also just died to DD Crow. Thunder, not so much, but you won that matchup with just Lair of Darkness or Mystic Mine. So that was like already like a way you instantly won, because you had Lilith and Metaverse, which was at 3 at the time to get you to Mystic Mine. So it's like super turbo consistent. Even against like the other matchups where like Mystic Mine's not even as good, where against like, for example, against something like Salamangre, you can still like Mystic Mine them and try, you know, get some draws in before you can like eventually kill them. Because they do have outs to Mystic Mine in their deck, but if you're able to just like stabilize for a little bit, you can just get into a position where you can't lose. And then against Sky Striker, Lair of Darkness is obviously very good against Striker links, because it just lets you get rid of Ray. You can banish their targets for Kagari. You can banish their Ray. You can have like, it's not that bad of a matchup. But and that's kind of like why I felt that it was just like it's such a good deck, because like it didn't matter if you went first or second, unless they main decked back removal, which would just be unheard of. But
yeah,
you would just like going first or second, like you go second against Danger Thunder, you just like have a sigh of relief, because like they don't have really anything to beat like Void Feast, and then they have to negate with Hot Red, and you're like, okay, I'll activate Metaverse. Like you give them a handshake and they lose. And like you had so many ways to get to everything, and like a lot of your like starters just like got around like the end board that like Danger Thunder could do. Pure Thunder was a bit harder though, because they like, if they were smart, they wouldn't even end on the Colossus. They would just go Titan Pass with like 2 dudes in hand. Like you instantly lose. Like there's no way you can beat Titan Pass unless you hard draw the like Imagination or Lair of Darkness or something, you know. Like so, like even then, like none of the like the bad quotation marks like matchups weren't even that bad. Like, you still had like an out to every situation essentially. The problem with the deck was itself though, because you had to play awful Infernoid monsters. But if you do the spell traps, they're really good though.
Yeah, they've got so many cool cards. Like Reason and Monster get at 1, weren't they, and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't play those cards though.
Oh.
I didn't think those cards were particularly great. It was just like 3 Decatron and then like 1 Anunku, 2 Devyati. 2 Side-Smiths, and 1 Sageti. Like, that's all the Infernoids I played.
Nice.
It was like 9 or something.
What like draws you to these decks over the stereotypical best decks then?
So I always feel like you can't really get an edge when you play like the quote unquote like best deck, unless it's like the first weekend, where like the deck was like that gets released, for example. Like I played like Trizu for majority of this format, and then I kind of like stopped playing it because I just didn't feel like it was worth anymore. Because when everybody just started putting Valor, Imperm, and whatever into their main decks, and Bell, it's like it's just not as good, and you just don't have an edge. And I'd rather just play like something that would potentially give me an edge. That's why I like playing Dragon at the moment. I feel like the deck's like really good. I still do think Trizu is like probably the best deck, just because a lot of people we're kind of getting to a point in the format where people are kind of a bit tired, and not as many people are playing like the best decks or whatever. And like a lot of people like you can still win a lot of games just by being better than your opponent, but even then there's also like the polar opposite where you can just lose a lot of games even if you're better than your opponent, because like sometimes I don't know, like when you play like a low ceiling deck, you can just like lose to just like anything sometimes, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I really do get the feeling of like being bored and stuff as well. I think it's one of the main reasons when Leoth came out, I just played Ignister for a little bit, just because the format was so like, it just feels like we've had the best decks have been around for a long time. Like Prankid's been around since 2018. Dragon Link in its early iterations has been around since late 2018. So when that came out as well, I really like. It was really fun to play, but then as you said as well, when people start shotting in Veilers and stuff, it became the same with like Droll becoming a big thing again. In the side deck, so it really killed like that deck's chances of really pushing through.
Yeah.
We've seen like many formats like obviously come and go. What do you think makes a format good? Like obviously that's subjective, obviously in your opinion.
I think a format is good when there's a variety of decks, and all of them have clear weaknesses and clear strengths. But like there has to be like a lot of like like a little asterisk behind like every single like thing behind the deck. For example, like 2019 is an example of like a fine format. A lot of people just forget a lot of the bad things about that format, which was just that Danger Thunder was realistically the only deck, but people just didn't play it because people are a bit silly. And you just had an edge if you just played Danger Thunder. But like if you ignore Danger Thunder, the rest of that format, you have Salamangreat, which is a combo control deck. Then you have Orcus, which is a combo control deck. Then you have Pure Thunder, which is combo control deck, and then you have Sky Striker, which is a control-y combo deck.
I mean, I guess when you had what was it? What was that card? I've got its name now. Your normal summons tokens. Like that one on the list. What's it called?
Phantom Skyblast.
That's the one. I remember that version.
Yeah. That version was cool, but I think the problem with that format specifically, though, was that like so if you ignore Danger Thunder, even then, by the way, like even though that Danger Thunder was on the format, it's not like it was unbeatable, but it was just clearly so ahead of the other decks. But you could still like obviously randomly lose, because that's just how YGO is. Like you're not like guaranteed to win if you're playing a deck.
Yeah, 100%.
You can, because like it's still a card game at the end of the day, and other decks can still win. People get like you can argue that like Salamangreat is the best deck of that format. Like I wouldn't like disagree with you. I think there was a lot of contention for the best deck in the format. It obviously was never Orcus. I have a huge hatred for Orcus, by the way. That's
why. What's your relationship with Orcus?
I just hate that people think that could be good. I don't know. A deck that loses to like Ash Blossom, just like or anything, it just like baffles me. I don't know. That's why I hate like Prankers as well. Jesus. I hate all those like one card combo-y lose to one hand trap decks. It pisses me off so much.
Oh, he says this after I mentioned I played Ignister. Alright, okay.
No, Ignister, like at the very least, nobody knows when to hand trap you properly, so it's fine.
That is very true. That's how you win.
Like people just like veiling your normal summon. It's like, yeah, okay, like I'm just gonna get the field spell off, thanks.
I think a lot of people seen the Eternal format in 2019. I don't know how true this is going to be, but I feel like a lot of people revere it as such a good format. It's because if you look at what the format was like beforehand in 2018, it was just FTKs everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it was definitely a breath of fresh air
in some ways, because you went from having a million different variations of FTKs. Because in 2018 you had the slash draw FTK, the danger FTK, and
FTK,
and even before that you had Goki, which was an FTK. You didn't get to play, and then when they eventually like crammed that, when like Thunder Dragon came out and stuff, you had this is just before Salad. Obviously we had like Thunder Dragon, Sky Striker. I think Altergeist would have been the third best deck before Salad came out.
Yeah,
for that format. So I think, when we're talking about what makes a format good as well, like in the future, because we're going to look at it a bit more subjectively now, is you have to look at what was the format like beforehand as well. What was your, like, apart from like Orcus and stuff, and like Salamangre, like, I feel like the Eternal format was pretty good. There was like, obviously, like you said, you played Infernoid and stuff, though.
Yeah, I think that format was like definitely one of the better formats we've had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's perfect, but I think we are so far away from having a perfect format, like probably ever again. And I don't think, to be honest, there's ever been a perfect Yu-Gi-Oh format, which is fine. It's really hard to have a perfect format. A lot of people will argue that GOAT is the perfect format.
It's not.
The GOAT format, if you played it at the time, sure, probably was like perfect. But like now that everybody has just like taken a like another take on GOAT format, like modern GOAT format versus like actual GOAT format, are like two completely different things. Because the GOAT meta has like weirdly evolved because people have just found out new things. Like it's like speedruns, to be honest. There's like a lot of similarities between like speedrunning like old games and like the GOAT format people, because they just find out like new things about the game that people didn't know at the time, which is like, this is like the weirdest like out there take ever. But if you like think about it, right, like with Super Mario 64, it's taken like people 3 years to shave off like a minute off the game, and like it's like people find like these new tricks that like people didn't know before, even though the game's been out for like 20 years or something, right? Whereas with like GOAT format, it's like somewhat similar, where like people are, oh well, if you put these cards and these cards together, you actually get like really good synergy. And like there's a lot of like things that people still find about GOAT format, just because it has so much room for innovation and whatever. But like it doesn't necessarily mean it's a perfect format.
Of course not. But when you talk about GOAT format as well, people think, oh, it's just GOAT control, then Chaos control. But like you said, it's also much now. You've got like decks like Gear Free controls a thing. You've got like Shark controls a thing.
You've got Zoo. You've got it's just Zoo. There's Zoo, other decks. Oh, Rescue Cat OTK, that's a deck.
The Beast deck is horrible. I hate that deck. The Rescue Cat
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about the perfect formats, to be honest. I think like what would make a good format is just a format with like variety in decks, where like no one deck is just clearly overpowered in regards to the other ones. Like 2019 is like pretty up there with like good formats, I want to say, even though you can be like, oh, Danger Thunder is just the best deck in the format. It's not like the other decks couldn't win, and we saw that with the format. I think that I think that like 1/2 deck formats are also just like good, because they can just be very skillful, as long as the mirror matches themselves are skillful.
Unlike Spiral.
Debatable.
When you talk about Spiral mirror matches, though, what comes to mind to me is I think it was Quincy versus Nevin. Do you know where this passed back and forth like 8 times?
Oh, that was Melbourne. That was Ryan Levine. Yeah, so that's a different Spiral format. That's the blind second Spiral format. That format I will say was good. I love that format. The one before it, though, like the full power Spiral format, was unplayable. But I topped London because my Spiral opponents did not know what they were doing. It was insane. Nobody, like, we spent like so long theorizing like just small little OTKs in the decks, and like literally nobody knew how to OTK with Drone Agent. It was crazy. Like there was a guy who had Drone Agent against me, and I was just ready to scoop. I was so pissed. I had like just 4 bricks in hand. My opponent just like didn't OTK me, and I just like kill him the following turn because I go Borlo, take his whatchamacallit, the sleeper dude, and I just kill him. I was like, sick. I was like, cool. Like, you could have just killed me, by the way. And then I told them that, and then they got really tilted. And then in game 2 they just misplayed again, and it was pretty funny. But I don't know. I think the game just, I don't know. I think what makes a good format is when matchups between decks aren't one-sided. I think when, well, like, okay, not incredibly one-sided, because obviously I think it's fine to have decks that are like bad against another deck, because that's just what the concession you're taking when you enter with a deck like that, you know?
Yes.
But I think if like decks play differently and the matchups between the decks in the format are healthy, then I think that's what can make a good format. Like, for example, 2019 was just like a fine format. Obviously, Danger Thunder being once again the outlier here. I think even this format,
I was going to say this format's quite similar.
would almost say that they're like 2019, but the very stark difference between this format and the previous one is that there are so many blowouts in this format, and like the Tri-Zoo deck can't beat the Tri-Zoo board. That's how pathetic it is.
Yeah.
Like when you have a mirror match that's just like incredibly toxic, where it can't even beat itself, like as a bad matchup against itself going second, like that's just like bizarre, you know?
It's the same with prank kids as well. Butler, like Butler, like obviously the normal stuff you just Butler, they go Poly, you just Butler again. Like, they can't do anything. Like
it's really unfortunate sometimes. And you just have to have like blowouts to be able to like play the game, which just kind of suck. Like if you can't like beat a deck with just your engine, then like it's a bit yikes. I'm not gonna lie, because you have to play so many engine cards in like in today's day and age. So and it kind of sucks that like
yeah.
But like, go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, you say like a lot of decks, it's frustrating when like they can only win with blowouts because they keep. I think the issue with certain cards is at the moment is that we've got cards like Lightning Storm, Forbidden Droplets, and Talents all coming out and stuff. I feel like Konami keep having to like one up themselves in some way. Yeah,
we are reaching a slow ticking time bomb. Ever since they made Nibiru, it's just been like a ticking time bomb.
That was because I hated that so much.
I cannot. I was there when like at Worlds when they were like revealing this stuff, and I was my jaw like dropped. I was like, I am selling all of my cards. This is just bullshit. Like, and then I was also at the same time being like, race supremacy. I was very vocal about my race supremacy during this time, but yeah. No, I don't know. I'd say like 2016 was a good I would say like 2016 before like 2019 was like one of the last good formats we had. I guess 2019 going second, no, not 2019. 2018 going second Spiral was like a good format, because like going second Spiral against going second Spiral, there was actual like skill involved in that matchup to an extent. It wasn't perfect because sometimes you could just get comboed by Spiral, you don't open a hand trap and you lose. But like when that doesn't happen, it's like super skillful and like it's really enjoyable. Like, you can really punish bad players in the mirror match.
On the topic and stuff of like blowouts, do you think it's not likely going to happen? But would you just ban a lot of them to like?
I think we've like reached a stage where like card design has evolved with these like cards in mind, that I don't think it's we've reached a point of no return, in my opinion.
I think as well with like Crossout supposedly coming out soon, stuff like that as well. Like I hate that card personally. I don't like. I'm not a big fan of cards that can like change your deck building. If you get me, you can make your deck less consistent to just out like a Drawler and a Bureau.
See, I have a counter argument to this. I think that card's extremely healthy. So, because nobody's forcing you to play this card, you know? And I think the fact that you have to have a trade-off to be able to beat a hand trap is, like, genius, you know? Like, if you are playing a deck that has to play Crossout Designator, you are probably playing something that isn't very healthy to begin with. So making it that your deck has to be, you have to sacrifice consistency to be able to play through hand traps is, like, fine to me, I think. because it just makes it so we don't have these super hyper consistent decks that can like always just play through hand traps, you know? Because like not every deck can play something like Crossout Designator. Like, and no danger deck can ever run Crossout Designator, for example, because it just needs like it can't really afford to play any non-engine cards. For example, like Adamantipator wouldn't ever like the Adamantipator decks that we had at the time would not have ever been able to play Crossout Designator because it would just make that deck so much less consistent. And that would be like a fine trade-off because it means that other decks can play it. Like mid-range decks can play Crossout Designator without having to give up that much deck space. And that also just gives you a good reason to play these mid-range decks.
Yeah.
Because as it stands, there isn't any real reason to play these like mid-range decks that don't really end on anything. You know, like Salamangreat, for example. Absolutely terrible. Why would you play that over Tri-Brigade? Tri-Brigade is just a mid-range deck that just ends on a board that just like it's almost like a combo deck's end board, to be honest.
It is, yes.
But it still plays like a mid-range deck, you know.
Have you played?
So like,
go on.
So I think like Crossout Designator is actually just like fine for the game. Like I hate Called by the Grave. Like Called by the Grave is the most toxic card ever.
I agree.
Whereas I think Crossout Designator is like fine because it makes for interesting interactions in mirror matches. But also it's like another like I like cards that like if you to play it, you need to it affects your deck building. Like cards like Grass, Seconds Light, I think are like fantastic Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they're just like really cool. And personally, in my opinion, I think are very healthy cards, and I think it's really sad that we saw them go. I think Grass went for like they massacred that card for like awful reasons. Their excuse of just it being too long to resolve Grass was just like that's just a non-reason. Like I don't think I've ever seen like maybe I'm just speaking from personal experience. I've never seen anyone take longer than like 20 seconds to resolve Grass because you just have to ask how many cards are in your deck. Yeah. Okay, I have 38. I'm going to count the 38 from the bottom of my deck. It's just that easy because then you just take out every card on top of that. Easy.
It's such a stupid argument as well, like you said, to resolve it when you've got decks that are taking ages to play anyways. Like we were just talking about Adamantipator. How long was the Adamantipator combo, by the way?
10 minutes probably.
Exactly. Like 20 seconds of Grass is fine.
Yeah.
With it sounds
I don't know.
You like a lot of cards that like can change your deck building in some ways. So with that, have you practiced much with Small World?
No. Not at all, to be honest. I don't think that card's good.
Really? I've heard a lot of people hyping it just because it's like a searcher for any deck essentially.
So I think in some decks it's good. Decks that are really bad, it's good. But like Virtual World, for example, it means that you can turn like terrible hand trap into GG. That's pretty cool. But or Lulu, for example. But I think cards like okay, so this is gonna be like I have such like really I don't know, crackhead takes, I guess. When Sign Up Mining came out, I was such an advocate of just not playing the card in Salad because it was a -1. I hate any card that like just inherently like -1s you for not that great of a payoff. Like obviously being able to search like a specific card's like good and all, but I think that if like in Salad, I think Sign Up Mining was like, you know, you can argue for it just to be good, which is fine, right? Like Searching Gazelle, fantastic, right? Discarding Salad's great, right? But if you're playing any other Cybers deck, that card is so bad. Because you just have to like a lot of the time you're discarding cards without graveyard effects, and then you just get ashed and you just go -1. Or even if it does resolve, you're still -1 to your opponent card advantage. So unless you're like searching something that's like absolutely powerful, it's just so bad. But obviously in today's Yu-Gi-Oh, it's just great because one card combos, etc., etc. So I don't know. I think Small World's cool and all, but I'm there's not a big fan of just the -1 searchers, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair enough, to be fair. On the topic of like formats and deck building and stuff, like how does a format have to evolve for a rogue deck to take precedent?
I think that's a hard question to answer. I think I think usually it's when there is a reason I'll reword this. When the rogue deck has some kind of niche that it can fit in to a specific format. So, for example, if we like enter a format, God forbid, that zone placement is like really important.
No.
Something like S-Force, for example, could be like potentially good because they just have a monster that like I think it's Gravitino or something, which is while it's on the board, any monster from your opponent's in the same column as an S-Force monster you control, it leaves the field by any means. It gets banished instead.
Yeah.
So it's just like a Shen essentially, but it's like a main deck monster.
That's really cool.
And all the other S-Force monsters have like other like they're all just floodgates, essentially. But there's one of them that like makes it so your opponent can't make link 3 or higher monsters with monsters in the same column as your S-Force monsters, which is like kind of cool.
Can they shift themselves?
So like
and stuff, or
so there's cards that do let you like move their zones. Yeah,
that's cool.
But there has to be like some kind of I don't know. Like for me, the reason why I played Infernoid was it filled in a role that there wasn't in the format already, which was a deck that could kind of be a chameleon in the sense that it had a good matchup into everything because of this one glaring like quotation marks like weakness, I suppose, between all the decks, which was that they were all graveyard reliant and they all had effects that added cards from the grave to the hand. Or in like Salad's case, it did that, but also it specifically had to have fire monsters, which Lair of Darkness specifically kind of beat. And that was like kind of the edge the deck had because it just had like good matchups like across the board, and I think that's what a rogue deck needs to have as well. It just needs to have good matchups across the board.
I think it's really cool when people can take rogue decks and do well, like yourself as well. Like I remember just watching Prank Kids win that YCS year in 2017, I think it might have been, and
2018,
my bad, and then the year before in 2017 with World Chalice.
Yeah.
It's certainly really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
So this may sound like really simple to answer, but what do you think separates a rogue deck that can do well in a tournament over a table 500 deck? And it's not just consistency, because there's a lot of decks out there, like currently, like Live Twins, for example, they're really consistent, but they're not doing an awful lot at the moment.
I think it has to do with power, consistency, but also matchups. I think like you can have a perfectly reasonable Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but if it has like bad matchups against like every top tier deck, then there's just no reason of like playing that deck. Like you are just asking to lose games. And I think just like the matchup thing is like the thing, like the big divider here. Yeah, that's really it.
So as touched upon earlier as well, you've made some like pretty spicy combo decks. I remember like tell me if I'm wrong, by the way, but did you help make the Lunalight deck that won what Nevin won?
Help is a weak word.
Oh, okay.
I made that deck.
Okay.
No, I'm not gonna be too arrogant. I did help on working. I was one of the first people who was like on board with it. It was me and Asala, from Duelist Academy / Game Nation. I think he's still on the team actually, but it was originally me and Asala, and we were testing the hell out of the deck, and we got to a point where we kind of liked it, and then like we had everyone else on board, and Raph just kind of played it.
I was thinking as well. I think when Farford did a traditional tournament last year, I saw you doing a video on ABC FDK. I actually played that for that tournament.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I want to know what your process is for deck building. Like, how do you look at these decks and go, "Oh, Lunalight, that's sick. I can win a YCS." Or how would you like? What is your process for building a deck from scratch in certain ways?
I usually for me it's just I gravitate naturally towards the deck, but when I mean gravitate towards the deck, it's like I find like the core mechanic of the deck cool. Like for example, I read Tiger, and like so what happened was I was on I think I was like looking at OCG deck list or something. And I saw like a Lunalight list. And I was like, oh, what are these cards? And I was like, oh, cool. Like there's this new like Legendary Duel set. And then like I read like Martin. And I was like, oh, this is really cool because I vaguely remembered like Lunalight Tiger was a thing. And then I realized that Kaleidochick finally came out in the TCG. And I've been thinking about Lunalite, Kaleidochick and Tiger for like the longest time, by the way, in like Zoo format. But we never got Kaleidochick until after all the Zoo cards were banned, which sucks. Because in the OCG, they had this crazy 60-card Lunalite Zodiac deck where you'd go Broad Bull and you could add like Tiger or Kaleidochick. And you just kill your opponent. It was insane. You go like you still had like you had perfect like you had every Lunalite card that we have now, but we didn't have the Trap card or Martin back then because they weren't released yet, right? Or they weren't even conceived of yet, I think. So you just had Chick, Tiger, and Perfume essentially, and that was honestly just like good enough. I think like you played like the Crimson Fox as well because it's just another name.
Yeah.
But you just kill your opponent because like you could also go Broad Bull, search Black Sheep, and that's a Lunalite monster obviously, and then go Black Sheep, add Poly fuse into Leo Dancer, and you just kill your opponent, right? And like Leo Dancer is like no joke against the Zoo board. Like you can't beat that card if you're playing Zoo. So like I was like, oh my god, like this Kaleidochick, this like Lunalite Zodiac deck is sick. And I was like, oh, we can't play because we don't have Kaleidochick. That sucks. And then I was like back to the drawing board, and I was like, oh cool, Yellow Martin. I remember the Lunalite cards. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll try like build this deck. And I played it in a OCG tournament. And I was like, oh cool, this is actually like pretty good. I got like top 4 at losing in top 4 to Salamander. And got max seed a couple of times, whatever. But and then I was like, this deck could be like really good in the TCG because like this deck can't really play cards to stop Maxi because it has to kind of just play a lot of engine. But also in the TCG we have Dangers. Those cards are giga good, and Curious is really good in this deck, and Dangers kind of help you make that. So I was like, huh. Okay, maybe there's something here, and then I started playing, and I was like, okay, this is actually, there's some merit to playing these cards. You can make Azathoth on your opponent's turn, that's cool. And then that's kind of how it went from there. But like usually the process is I just gravitate towards a deck, and I just do more and more research, I suppose.
That's really cool. So you just like look at a deck and go, oh, I like the look of that. Let's see what I can do with it, essentially.
Yeah, well, it usually just comes from like reading new cards when they come out. Usually.
Oh, that's really cool. So living in Ireland, what's the competitive scene like over there? Because I know I know you've got their own. I know Ireland have their own nationals, but I've also seen you play in the UK nationals and stuff. So what's the scene like over there?
So we have like quite a few good players, I want to say, but the competitive scene is really weird because a lot of people in Ireland don't really travel, and a lot of the competitive scene is just nested in Dublin, which is the capital city.
Yeah.
There is like still people that play in the other counties in Ireland, but Dublin's like the main one I want to say because it's most of the people who actually travel for events are from Dublin, and a lot of the people who like a lot of the like good players I'd say are from Dublin. If not, maybe all the good players are from Dublin. Back in the day, though, it used to be a lot different because it used to be that Dublin actually had no good players, and all the good players were from other counties. But a lot of them have quit since then, which kind of sucks.
Oh, that sucked. Do you think we could see like a YCS in Ireland at all?
We've actually had a European Championship in Ireland.
When was this?
We had Euros. Yeah, we had Euros in Dublin in 2015, and that was our first and last competitive event. We had like literally Dublin was like the best Euros ever. Like so many people enjoyed it, but the problem was that like Ireland is so expensive to hold events in, or people to fly to, especially from like coming from Central Europe. We're just not Central Europe, from mainland Europe. It's really expensive to fly here. But if you're flying from the UK, it's like literally like 20 euro flights, or sorry, in your fake currency, pound flights.
Chuckle a bit. It's really the thing is as well. I feel like we're never gonna get another YCS outside of London anymore, in the UK, and that's purely because of the Comic Con, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they have like a special deal with them or something to be able to just get the venue for cheaper, which is reasonable to be fair.
It's really cool, but I just wish we could have like because I think the last one we had outside London was Liverpool, and then even before that you had like Sheffield and Birmingham, and I feel bad for Irish and Scottish players and stuff. It'd just be nice if we could have one outside of like, or even like Wales or something. It'd be nice, I feel.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be so down for YCS Cardiff or something.
Oh, that'd be sick. I've got family in Wales, so that'd be nice.
That'd be cool.
Whilst on the topic of your history in the game, I wanted to quickly just touch on the topic of like teams and stuff, because I know you were a part of AIG Europe, right?
I was, yes.
What happened with all that? Like, because I know it was like NCG and stuff.
Well, it's CCG.
CCG, sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Okay, I'll speak in some vague terms for it because I'm not entirely sure how much I can actually speak about it.
That's okay.
But basically, what ended up happening was we so a bunch of us got approached by so ARG wanted basically to have a European team, because they wanted more, they wanted to branch out essentially, right? And at the start it was just the ARG American team, which had like Max, had Ryan Levine, Jeff, Bowden. I guess Bowden was not American, but like this doesn't count. Anyway, you had all those people, right? All the ARG people. The all Americans, I mean. So that was all good. So then, CCG, a lot of people were kind of starting to become inactive. A lot of people were starting to like kind of not play the game as much.
Yeah.
So it was kind of becoming like, you know, the beginning of the end almost. So what ended up happening was a lot of us, I guess, jumped ship to ARG, but I wouldn't really say that. I kind of just rebranded as CCG. Sorry, rebranded as ARG Europe.
Yeah.
Because we were promised a lot of things. The promised part is the important thing to note here. And the way the team kind of died was because the things we were promised didn't actually happen. So then they went back to CCG. And then I ended up just not going back to CCG. I kind of just ended up... till now, I'm just doing my own thing, essentially. On Team Mambo, the best team in Ireland.
Was that Team Mambo, did you say?
Yes, the best team.
I've seen a lot of the fishes and stuff all over Facebook.
Very good. We've left our mark.
You like you get like calling cards, leave them after you like your two of your opponent. Leave your two of your opponents, leave them a fish or something.
We actually do have business cards, but there hasn't been events for us to be able to give them out.
Oh, so alongside of playing the game physically, you're also a streamer. And I remember first seeing your like combo videos when you were under Mad Scientist. When did you make the transition from that to like Hypnocorn? And what was the reason for the rebranding, I guess?
So my Twitch was called Hypnocorn since like ages ago. I'd almost want to say, by the way, that I was the first YGO streamer.
Oh?
My first stream was in 2015, actually. But I didn't stream consistently at all. I stopped streaming for like 4 years or something. And I streamed like Dueling Network way back when. It was just me playing against my pals, and I was like testing for a regional or whatever. I don't think I had like any viewers or anything, but I was like way back when, so it's just like a fun little tidbit. But the reason behind my name, I don't even remember why it was called Hypnocorn in the first place on Twitch. All I remember is specifically it was a card that I think I pulled in Battle Pack 2 or Battle Pack 3 draft. I'm not entirely sure which I remember. And I think I remember pulling one. I was like, this is cool. It's like the missing scapegoat.
Oh. That's so cool.
And then when I made I think I'm not entirely sure how many Twitch accounts I've had, and I'm not entirely sure. This is like so far back now. Like I can't even remember if this was my original Twitch account or this is like the second one, or maybe I've just like renamed my Twitch account over time. Because I almost feel like my Twitch name was like way different back then. But yeah. Anyway, my YouTube was called Mad Scientist. Because I was just doing FTK stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing like the Jello Duo FTK and stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, you know what? This is kind of boring because FTKs aren't really interesting to begin with, and I kind of started getting bored of them. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna rebrand to my Twitch because I wasn't bothered to because rebranding Twitch is just more of a hassle than rebranding YouTube. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna change everything to Hypnocorn. It rolls off the tongue better. And it's like it stands out enough, so I'm like, fine, whatever. And also like there's something I can like, there's like a brand in mind, I suppose, with that, which is just a Hypnocorn, which is cute and cuddly. So
they are very cute. I never knew what one was until I was like joined your Discord. To be fair. When did you? Well, so basically FTKs were just boring, and then you wanted to just make more content.
Yeah, I just want to I don't know. Have different content, I suppose, other than just the TK stuff. And Mad Scientist didn't really fit with that brand, so I was like, screw it, I just want to have the same name across everything.
So when did you start being more like consistent with your uploads?
I've never been consistent with my uploads on YouTube. I was a lot more consistent when I was playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds games. Those were that was like the golden era, I guess, of my my YouTube channel. But I kind of got bored of those as well. Well, I probably should have kept going, to be honest. I was getting tired of like streaming them more than anything. I also was like just really bad at editing back then. So it was like really daunting for me to just like, I don't know. For me, it's like really hard to hear myself speak when like editing stuff. And I just get like really what's the word? I get
Do you cringe a little bit?
Unenthusiastic, I guess. No, you can say cringe. You can say like what's the word? Demotivated.
Okay.
To edit, to keep editing. So that's kind of like I ended up stop editing for a while. Well, not stop editing, but like I stopped making videos for a while. And it's like a cycle. Whereas like when I'm uploading, if I am editing someone else's clips, I don't get that because I'm not hearing myself talk. I'm hearing someone else talk instead. So I can kind of get past that barrier, I suppose.
I can imagine so as well. I think I'm quite desensitized to my own voice though, because I'm an actor as well. So I feel like I think that's become quite desensitized to it. But you say as well that you when you were saying you were just like doing 5Ds content and then getting bored and then stuff like that. It's like there's so many distractions, man.
Yeah.
I'm quite late to the party on this one, but I only just seen that you'd done the Far From Friends channel, and I didn't even know it was run by you. I saw it on my suggested recommended videos on YouTube when I was flicking through one day, and I messaged my mate. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" When did you like start doing stuff with Nadir?
So I've been friends with Nadir for like fucking years.
Yeah.
Like actually so long, and I can't remember why I even started uploading his clips to begin with. I think it was just because I was like, you know what? Because my initial plan for the channel was that I wasn't gonna initially do Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. I kind of wanted to expand into just non-Yu-Gi-Oh stuff because I was kind of getting bored with the game, even contemplating quitting at some point. But I was thinking, okay, what if I just started making like Twitch compilations? And I just snuck in a few of my own clips there between like the big streamers. And I was like, okay, so then I can get like exposure for my channel, but also just get views as well from the video just because I have these big people on it, right? So like, okay, this is a foolproof plan. And I was like, wait, you know what if I just do this with like Nadir or someone? Let's just see what happens. And then it started going well. I was like, okay, cool. I still want to post my clips though. So I it was like between Nadir's clips and mine. Like I kept like slowly, weaving in my clips with his. And I was like, fine. And like other people's clips as well, like Joseph's and MBT and Coders as well. So I was like, like it's fine. Originally the channel actually started as like just a clip channel from like my Twitch basically. But then I just like, I was like, fuck it. I'll just completely rebrand because it's just easier to do. Because I don't stream that much. Well, I do, but like not a lot of, I don't know, clippable content, I suppose. Because I just chill out and just like talk about stuff. Nothing of which is that interesting or anything, but I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna fully go on the train of just editing the deer clips. And then here we are today.
Yeah, he's doing quite well as well. I just never heard of it before, and I was like, 8,000 followers? Oh, why have I missed the boat on this one? So it's really cool. Do you create like content full time then? Would you say full time? Like I guess, but
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose I do. Yeah.
Because it sounds like you've got a lot going on with your own stuff and then like editing other people's. So when did you like realize you could like do that like more? If you get me, like you could take it not necessarily further, but you could just be like you could just do it more. I guess.
I don't know. I guess it's just because of like lockdown and stuff. I was just like I have so much free time. Because like before, right? So I don't have like a job or anything. I am just a bum, right? I live like day to day from buying and selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I don't know, just living, right? And I was like living with like my mom's house, so I had like no costs or anything, so I was just completely like cruising by, right? And then I was like streaming on Twitch and I was making a bit of money there, and I was like, okay, I'll just use this money to upgrade my stream setup. And then after I upgraded all my stream setup, I'm like, okay, well, now I just have all this like disposable income, I suppose. So I was like, you know what? I guess I can just do this full time, and just like make livable money off of it. And then that's really it. Yeah, and then like, I made money off YouTube on the side, and also card market on the side, and then like whatever. There's like a bunch of different like streams of revenue, I suppose. And then there's also Duels Academy, which I get paid for from like when I used to do coaching, but like I just do video editing now, but I still get paid for that. And I edit for Farfa, so that's another stream of income. There's a bunch of stuff basically, but yeah, the answer to that question is basically just like when lockdown started. I just had like a lot more time because I wasn't outside, so I would just be indoors. And if I'm on my computer, I might as well do something with my time.
So it sounds like you do a lot of like, obviously being able to do streaming full time, and like you were doing coaching and video editing. It's like for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, that's like the dream. Is just to like do a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Right?
It really is. I am very, very grateful for my position. I just get to be a bum, do nothing with my life, but have enough money to be able to hang out with my pals and not worry. You know, like I don't have to have a lot of money to be able to survive. I'm a very low maintenance human. There is like a few times where I just I spurge a bit too much money in a week for like a takeaway or something, but
you gotta treat yourself.
Apart from that, it's just like, yeah, you know, I get the occasional takeaway. Sometimes my housemates just pay for the takeaway, and I try to pay for it, and they say no, so it's like whatever, it's free food. So yeah, like really low maintenance. But I'm very, very, very fortunate to be in the position I'm in.
No, it's really cool. It sounds like your life's like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh in there. So outside of Yu-Gi-Oh, what do you do? Like, what are your other interests? Like, obviously, because doing Yu-Gi-Oh like every day in day out, it'd be quite like overwhelming. So like, what else is there? Like,
I like learning. I like learning a lot. I like learning new skills. Basically, that's kind of why. So I started off with Yu-Gi-Oh, obviously, and then I started playing. I started like watching a lot of Twitch streams because of like Hearthstone back in that like golden era of Twitch. I guess quotation marks golden era. And I was like, oh, the streaming thing looks really cool. So I wanted to kind of like learn a bit more about computers and stuff. And then I went to uni for computer science and then learned a bunch of stuff there. And then started wanted to make more videos. I've been making videos for a very long time, by the way, like since like 2012 or something.
Wow.
Even like not earlier than that, like 2010, 2011. Making videos for a very long time, but like that was back when I was like a kid and I didn't really know much, you know, using Windows Movie Maker, you know.
Yeah,
I liked creating things, you know. Yeah. I'm a big fan of just creating stuff, and YouTube and like Twitch is like just another like I don't know canvas for that type of stuff. I like creating stuff, you know. But it's the same thing with like Yu-Gi-Oh decks, you know, like it sparks my creative interest, I suppose, even though I'm not that creative. And I've just uploaded another Reddit review to Farfa's YouTube channel. But apart from that, though, I do just enjoy learning different things, things that actually interest me. Like you know, like I started like not like a sponsored to say this at all, but I've actually been like non-ironically using Squarespace to learn video editing tricks and like also tricks how to like learn how to manage your time better and stuff like that because that's like something I struggle with. So I don't know. That's basically it. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is just legit, just like my life. I just watch Twitch. I think of things. I watch YouTube videos. I try to utilize things I see in videos in my edits, and then I rinse and repeat. But I like in things I actually like outside of Yu-Gi-Oh. I watch like a little bit of anime. I don't really watch as much anymore. I play a bit of I don't know like Pokemon I guess now, as in like the video games, but like. It's literally I've only just started like a playthrough the other day, but that was like before then I was just not doing anything Pokemon related. So it literally just is Yu-Gi-Oh for me, to be honest. I don't really have that many interests.
It's amazing, to be fair. What's your advice for people starting off in content creating then? For people who want to be able to like take it full time, or even just people who are doing it like as a hobby, like obviously like myself. What's your advice?
Do something unique, I'd say. I think something that like you enjoy and that is like unique is like good to do. I think
it's all about
you don't really want to like
market as well.
Yeah, like that's what I mean by like unique. Like quite literally, it's like a gap in the market.
That was one of the reasons I started doing this podcast at first, because before release, like doing this, there was only really two. And only one of them was consistently uploading, and that is the Gate Expectations podcast. Apart from that, you only really had like Austin doing the Blazing cards, but then he's not uploaded in months. But so that was like one of the main reasons I started doing this. There's also like a bit of a gap and stuff, and now there's a lot of people doing podcasts. I think Pac's doing his own, Disciples doing their own, and it's really I love seeing more people like just create and stuff. I'm a huge fan of podcasts in general. Like I listen to like 6 different wrestling ones. So if we can have that for Yu-Gi-Oh as well, I think that's really amazing. So it's all about finding like the gap as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. I want to quickly talk back on Yu-Gi-Oh dead quickly before we wrap this up. I just wanted to know what do you think's been like the key to consistency? Your own consistency though.
Consistency in
like, so obviously you're doing consistently well, basically.
Oh sure, yeah. I don't know. I think just doing it is the main thing, to be honest. Like this is like a forehead answer, but like I like when I first started streaming, I was like to be fair, right? I kind of cheated with like streaming just because I was friends with Nadir, so I just got his host every day, and I just grew from that. Which, you know, was a little bit of cheating, right? Not everybody gets that luxury, you know. Like I wasn't like I was known in the community beforehand, like somewhat, just because of like Gemini FTK, and then just appearing in like the Table 500 videos with Nadir and things like that. So I was just like, you know, known in the community. So I immediately just had like an audience, I suppose. And then I just kept streaming, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then I just kept doing my own thing. I don't know. I guess the secret to my success was just doing what I wanted to do. Like that's really just it. Like, honestly, I just do what I want.
You laugh
as long as I'm having fun.
Yeah, of course, but you laugh and say that's like quite generic advice, but honestly, it's sometimes the best advice. Like if you literally just do what you enjoy, you're gonna be more motivated to get up at each.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you enjoy what you do, you won't work a day in your life. That's my motto, I suppose.
That is a very great motto to have. For someone who's been competitive for like as long as you have as well, you must have traveled like a fair amount. Can you tell me some of your funniest memories?
Oh God, funniest! I don't think I'm allowed to say any of them. Oh, I think they're all just illegal. Like, there's the time Bowden pissed his shoes at like London. That was pretty funny. He also just like, denies it to this day, but he definitely pissed his shoes. What else? I can't think of. Oh God, there's like I have so many Vegas stories from like last year that just like are bizarre. Like Vegas is just not a real place. God, I literally legally can't even say anything from Vegas. It's just oh my God. But,
I think you saying that you can't legally say it is already saying enough. To be fair, I think a lot of people can paint that picture in their head.
I don't know. I enjoy a lot of the events I go to. I can't really specifically like think of anything specifically funny in mind. Like I don't know. I just enjoy like a lot of my trips. I can't think of anything specifically like outstanding that's like funny to happen on a trip, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, as well, it's sometimes just like the experience of traveling is like it's just memories enough. Realistically, I've not really traveled that a lot, but go on. You sound like you got a story.
I've had a spark. I've had a spark of one funny thing has happened. That was so it was YCS Ghent back in 2019, I think 2019, yeah, and it was like the Thursday before the event. We were in this like restaurant, and it was our friend Brad's birthday, and a lot of people know him as Bread. I don't know why, but he's just known as Bread in the community. And it was his birthday, so we were gonna get him a cake, right? But like the cake was just gonna be bread. And we were in this restaurant like waiting for him to like come here, right? Because he was just getting from the getting from the airport to like Ghent, right? Because you have to fly to Brussels, and from Brussels you have to get to Ghent. So we were like waiting for him, and we were like, right, it'd be really funny if we got the restaurant we were in involved with this. So we asked them, can you put a candle in this bread and take it out and like take it out for us when he comes here, and while we sing happy birthday to him, and it'll be really funny because it was just this loaf of bread, like unsliced loaf. It would just have a candle in it. And then they actually said yeah, and that was pretty funny. And then we eventually arrived. It's a good moment. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight, I suppose. That was a good funny moment.
That is Oh, that was free. I was creasing just at the fact. I'm getting a mental image of a loaf of bread and a candle. I might even just ask for that for my birthday this year now.
Yeah.
What do you think? So we're traveling as well. I've only really been to one other country, and that was Dusseldorf. I think traveling to different events, the experience is so much different.
Oh, for sure.
Apart from like the language barrier, obviously, what else do you think is like? What else do you think is like the stark difference between coming to London or over like traveling to like Ghent, for example, or even America?
I don't think I don't think there's that much of a difference between events. I always just treat them the exact same. There's not really usually the weird thing is that like with foreign YCSs, the language barrier personally has never been really that much of a problem because Yu-Gi-Oh is such like the words the vocab we use in Yu-Gi-Oh isn't that complicated.
Yeah.
You know, like you can just signal one for Chainlink 1 and like a 2 for Chainlink 2, and everybody will be able to like get that, you know. And it's not like everybody goes to YCSs doesn't know English. Like a lot of people who go to YCSs just already know English anyway, and like it's just a thing in like mainland Europe anyway, where a lot of people are just taught English in schools, so just they'll be able to communicate like regardless. You do get the occasional person who can't speak a word of English. I think that's only ever happened to me once in my entire life, and that was like a YCS like 5 years ago, in Prague of all places.
Oh, wow.
Where I played against a German guy who just couldn't speak a word of English. And I was still able to finish the match with like no problems whatsoever. Where I would just point at my cards and I'd say like I'd signal 1, or like 2 or whatever. And then it also just helps just knowing like if you know like the meta, you just know what cards do, so you don't ever have to read your opponent's cards anyway. Thankfully, my opponent didn't have to do the same. Like they knew what cards did, they just didn't know how to speak English, which is like fine. Yeah.
So, obviously, I'm always an advocate for like telling people to travel, not just for Yu-Gi-Oh, but like just to get a bit of like. I feel like if the people that stay in their own country their entire lives and stuff, it limits your world.
Just seeing other places is so nice. Like honestly, like my favorite.
This game has given us that as well. I feel.
Yeah. Just going to like different countries and just seeing sights is like the best thing. Like one of my favorite events ever was just Ghent, just because like Belgium is such a sick place. I don't know what it is, but it's just really pretty. It's probably just because it reminds me of home, to be honest.
Oh.
But yeah, no, like it was just super cool. I don't know. Like I really enjoyed the scenes in Belgium. The food there was good. Yeah, it was just nice. It was just a nice place to walk around, just like get lost in. It was like lovely.
That is the one thing I'm looking forward to the most about post-pandemic Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just being able to go with your friends and just like make a few days out of it, play some Yu-Gi-Oh! To go see the world. It's amazing.
Yeah. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Part's always the worst part. Just hanging out with the pals in between rounds is the best part of the event. Playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Part is always the worst part of it any weekend. That's
the one thing I miss so much about obviously playing in the remote dual YCS, was how the fact like in between rounds we were sat at Discord.
You just had pals.
Like that was it. But at like
Discord is just not the same.
No, but at London you can go for like a smoke break if you smoke, or you can go for like a sandwich. It's a whole different experience. And or
just like be with your pals and just hear their like their salty losses or whatever. Their bad beat stories. There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
I managed to get a taste of that last week actually with the Switch tournament in Liverpool, and honestly, it just got me so excited for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Oh man, that looked like a lot of fun.
They're doing another one in 6 weeks, to be fair.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So that's really cool.
I wonder if they'll allow people to bail punishments at that event. I mean, what?
What was that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm referring to.
That's really funny because I lived in Liverpool for 4 years, so I know the judge that did that. He's a very good friend of mine, so I'm just gonna wind him up about it now.
Yeah.
Oh well, thank you for that, Vlad. I just want to for the podcast we do this thing where there's like we finish off with these 5 questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
Cool. So question 1, like obviously I asked you what was your favorite deck that you played that you top with, but what's been like your favorite deck in general?
Extra Deck Monarch. It's a deck that I always just say is my favorite deck. I have never had more fun in this game than when I was playing Extra Deck Monarch, because it was just a deck that you could just like, it was such a cool freestyle deck in the sense that like you could play so many different like little techs in the Extra Deck Monarch deck and just do well with it. You could play like a Magnus version where you played like the super quantum field spell, and you're just able to make the great Magnus King of Computers or whatever, which is pretty cool. You could play Brilliant Fusion, my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card ever. You could play like all the different monarchs you could play. It was so sick. I loved extra deck monarchs. Like just the options you had in every single part of that deck, in regards to actually playing the deck and actually building the deck, was my favorite part for sure. Yeah, I love that deck.
It's
fully customizable, basically.
Yeah, I feel like as well, that's just, it allows you, because obviously you're very creative when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! It allows you to just be like, oh, there's no set way to play the extra deck.
Yeah.
So you can just go, oh, this card's cool. Like looking up new rank 5s and stuff, for example. Like it's just really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
In your opinion, who are the best 5 players in the game right now?
Oh God.
I know it's a difficult one, but it's
right. Jesse Cotton.
Yeah.
Luke Coogan. Herman Hansen. Raphael Nevin. Who else? Sebastian Todd.
Who are the people that you think like we should be looking out for, like the up and comings?
Up and coming. Luke Coogan.
Herman Hansen. Same 5 people. Let's go.
Sebastian Todd. Gabriel Netz. Cormac Adams. And Hashim Mustafa.
Oh, that's it. Question.
I just named 5 of my friends.
I was thinking that when I was like, I was gonna say when
it's 5 friends in my testing circle.
I was literally gonna say to you, please try not to upset anyone when you answer this question. But who you got for you?
It's hard because I'm like friends with everyone, you know. Like it's hard for me to like, I don't know, like pick between my friends, you know. So I just raffle off some names in my head who actually still play the game at the moment. So
let's hope you don't get too many angry messages when this airs.
No, that's fine. I said Jesse and Raph. They'll be happy enough.
Nice. So question 3 as well. Who has influenced you most in this game and how?
This is going to be a really weird answer, I think. So I can make a case for so many people here. I can make a case for Farfa / Nadir, because he did introduce me to a lot of the UK crowd.
Yeah.
And also kind of, I guess, gave me my platform essentially. And also, like, in turn, like, it's kind of like a bit of a snowball effect. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have ever met, like, the first, like, testing circle I had, or, I guess, first, like, modern testing circle I had for, like, Lynx, which was, like, Jordan, Darren, Barry, Jason, all those people.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if it wasn't for that, because, like, then Darren joined E-Man, and then E-Man joined TCG, and then after Darren joined CCG, he obviously then knew Raph, and then I got to know Raph, and then another snowball effect is that got me onto CCG eventually, and then to ARG, etc. And then leading on to, like, you know, Raph winning the YCS and stuff. So, you know, like, there's a lot of people I can contribute to. I could say, like, Raph, I could say Darren, I could say Nadir. I would just say my friends in general, to be perfectly honest. Because there's honestly too many people for me to list. For me to say, you know, who's influenced me the most. Because I think it's just, like, my friends as a collective who just, like, influenced me the most. Because if it wasn't for any of my friends, then, you know, I wouldn't be here.
That's one of the main reasons I continue playing this game, to be fair. Because no matter how bad a format is, I keep playing because of the social aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just giving me so much, and it sounds like it has for you as well. It's brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
Question 4. What are you most looking forward to product-wise, and why? Like,
I want the shark stuff. Where are the sharks coming out? The right-hand shark and the left-hand shark. Where are they? Konami. I'm looking forward to the Albaz structure deck too. I really want to know what's in that. Really exciting.
They've got so many cool cards.
I love that entire like lore line. I love the dogmatic lore so much, and like the Albaz cards are so cool. They just don't do anything.
Yeah.
And now that they've made a structure deck, they might be able to do something, which is exciting for me. Obviously, Burst of Destiny is an exciting product. Megatins for me is exciting because I just chose not to buy talents or droplets, which I'm still happy I didn't to this day. But then again, I would have gotten good mileage out of them, so whatever. Yeah, I still had results without those cards. So you know what? Better didn't even miss them. But I don't know. Burst of Destiny, Megatins, the Brothers of Legends set, Albaz structure deck whenever that comes out, which is like years away. That's really it. Yeah.
I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to Burst of Destiny as well, to be fair. I think
Yeah,
it's
for
just going
sure.
to change the game so much, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
And lastly, what advice would you give to players out there who are like looking to step up the game, like get their first regional or YCS top?
I think just I don't know. So for me, the way I kind of approached the game was that if I wasn't having fun, I'd rather just not play. So I'd usually just play a deck that I'd really enjoy, as long as quotation marks, it's also just a good deck. If I was like, looking to get competitive, like sometimes there is just no deck in a meta where like that just you enjoy. Like there has been certain metas like in last year where I just didn't enjoy a single deck and I just didn't play the game.
Yeah.
And I'd only ever really play if it was like for stream content. So for me, I don't know. I think like just having fun is just like the most important part. Because like you're able to learn a lot better if you're just having fun at the same time,
Yeah, you have to enjoy what you're doing. Like, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Vlad. See, guys, what did I tell you? Even with my stupidity of forgetting to ask Vlad to do the shout-outs at the end and the non-existent structure of this, like, it was a bit all over the place, I will admit, it was still such a great episode. If I could go back and do this again, I totally would, because there's so much more I wish I could have asked. But it is what it is. Hindsight is 2020, right? I still had an absolutely amazing time doing this episode, and I hope you all had equal amounts of fun listening. Now, if you're not already, go follow Vlad on Twitch and YouTube at Hypnocorn. Go follow Facedown YGO on all social media for information on when future episodes are coming out. You can also message me on there telling me who you would like me to get as future guests. That is on Facebook as Facedown YGO. That is on Spotify as Facedown YGO. And also YouTube as Facedown YGO. Also, I have just created a Dueling Book account, so if you all want to play some games with me, go find me on there as, you guessed it, Facedown YGO. Now, thank you all so much for listening. Whatever you're all doing out there, you all stay safe. But for now, this is me signing off.